There you are, dude.
Cool.
Hey, dude, sick background, man. I still want a cage in my damn school. I know I messaged you about it a while back.
Yeah, I know I probably have 20 or 30 feet left of that I'm not using. If you ever,
Man, actually, so we built, my dad is such an amazing fabricator, right? He can build anything out of steel. He's built me a table here at my house, but like I'm kind of, it's like chaos. My Mac's been a little weird, but like just this last 3 days, it's like a new MacBook, but it's been acting weird.
yeah,
And but I'm also in the process of moving to my a new studio, right? And we
right.
made a custom table, kept the leftover steel for a cage wall because we just moved into a new gym, and I've got a roll of the covered fencing,
Yeah,
and it's I should be able to construct it. I got the steel, I got my pops. I just got to do it. Like it's been on the positive side of being shut down is like yourself. We moved in 2 weeks before, but then we closed in, and we got all this extra stuff done, which was kind
right,
of great.
right.
Yeah. Well, dude, how about your move, man? How's everything been going? You feeling good on the other side of it?
I do. Um, I've had a lot of people like, why are you doing this right now? But it just was time. I mean, if you could see, I saved my original mats. So let me back up. I've had the same 24 by 24 square rollout mats for oh God, 5 years, almost six. And
Mm-hmm.
so that mat is now in the middle of all my new mats, and it's different color.
Is
And
it the
so,
black one?
yeah, I
I
did the
see some
black wrap
pictures. Yeah,
on my blue. And I mean, because I had students that were like, "You're not getting rid of the blue. That's the blue, whatever." And I did. I love my blue mats, but I went ahead and you see the mats and what we've been on for so long. Um, that it's almost hard to believe we had as many as we did on that little place. And we had standing room before the shutdown. I mean, parents couldn't find a seat. So it was time. It just was, it's just a weird time in the world, but it was a perfect time for me. Does that make sense?
yeah. No, I know a few people that I kind of, for us, it was, I definitely don't want to have to shut down again. Let me preface that. But for us, it was positive. I know my friend Matt Blank, who he renovated a new location in Tucson. So it's been a positive thing for him. But I know a few people that have, and I think it just kind of depends on what states were hit, you know, the worst with the worst number of cases or the worst government administration of the shut, you
Yeah.
know.
Yeah. There's a lot to that,
Yeah.
Um, for us, we're fortunate. When we had a lot of cases, and a lot of the information you were getting was showing that we were really high. We were on the upper end of a lot of that stuff. But on the other side of it, we recover pretty quick, and we're in phase three right now. Um,
That's awesome.
so it's the turnaround's been good. But for us, it was just it was kind of painless on my end. I hate that for people that it wasn't, but I was very fortunate that um, I wasn't having to live off of the gym when things were being shut down.
Yeah, are you still? Yeah, likewise, likewise. And people like to, a bunch of people I like work with at the university have said that they're like, "I bet you're glad for your university job." And my inner voice was talking shit about them earlier. I'm like, I don't need anything. I'm educated. I will make it no matter what.
Mm,
But it is nice having that other income. But Core and I, like, we could do anything.
yeah,
It's like if something totally crazy happens, yeah, that sucks. We'll rebound. We're still young. We have our educations, and if we continue to learn after the
yeah,
fact, and just with like whether it's entrepreneurship or whatever, it's like I have no plans of getting out of the business
right.
of martial arts, but that's been another thing is I think that this is going to get a lot of people like you and I to form more like contingency plans for things like this, right? I
Yeah.
think that's got, for me, that's what I'm thinking. I'm like, yeah, we talk about the worst that could happen, but nobody has a plan for what we just went through.
No, no, not at all. And the thing was, and what gave me the kick was I actually was let go from my job the week before the shutdown.
Holy shit, really?
Yeah. So I I was managing the fitness center that my gym was inside of.
Oh, okay, okay. I didn't know that.
Um, and so that was my full-time gig with the gym. Um, and I have a t-shirt business that I screen print shirts. And then I'm also a youth pastor. So I have my hand in a bunch of little things. And so there's a little bit of money trickling in from a couple different spots. But that not having that steady income from being a manager, which was my safety net, being pulled out, it was almost as if that's really what gave me the kick. Okay, well, it's gonna be the time, like you said. I mean, the thing is now, from March 1st, is now it's 100%. I'm in control. If I don't make it, it's my fault. I can't blame it on anybody else. I can't do any of that. It's either I get up every day and I make it, and if I get up every day and I make it and it doesn't happen and I fail somewhere in the middle of it or whatever, then I gave it my shot. But I'm I mean, we've known each other for, oh God, 6 years.
Yeah, a few years. Yeah, yeah, at least.
So the one thing that I think, without making this sound like I'm bragging, is that I'm a survivor. I mean, 6 years I mean, my area. My area is rich in jiu-jitsu. I mean,
It is.
a lot of people don't have what we have here. I mean, I think I could throw out a number and say 15 and say there's probably more than 15, maybe up to even 20 within a 45 minutes of the central location out here of
Wow.
martial arts studios, especially that specialize in jiu-jitsu. So to be able to make it 6 years as not a black belt, not, I started teaching as a blue belt, to make it out here after all that. I mean, I'm going to be able to make it. I'm going to do what I need to do. And that 6 years has taught me exactly what not to do, because I've messed it up so many times. But, yeah, it's this going into this timeline and where we're at, and then to be excited about something brand new. I mean, because this place is, I mean, the last place was nice, to its standard, but this is like the roof's off. This is amazing. I got the most amazing realtor, and I gave her a list of what I wanted, and she showed me one property, and that one property is what we went to fight for. And a month after, we had it. So
Are you leasing? Are you buying?
I'm leasing. I'm
Nice.
in I'm looking right now. This parking lot is a business parking lot. There's one side. There's two strips. One side is as a food heavy strip, where I got Andolini's pizza, I got Subway, I got donuts for breakfast, and I got a buffet. But the other side is it's home builders. It's the Owasso, which is the city I'm in. It's their big land and leasing development area. One of the biggest builders is here. I got one of the premier hair salons is right here.
That's great.
I got a lot of nice things right here, and I'm staring right at Walmart across the street. So there's traffic over here like it's insane.
That's awesome, man.
But I went from an 800 square foot area with 600 square feet of mat to now I'm at 2,500 square feet with a lobby. I have an office. We have 1,300 square feet of mats, a bathroom, and a kitchen. I mean, so the jump is huge, and it's hilarious to watch people come in here and look around. I mean, we had so much time off. I was able to do what I wanted to do to the place.
Yeah, that's great, man. I know on our move, we on the weekends and in Cora during the day, we used all our free time to, and I'm teaching full-time college class load. to renovate. And it was a fitness center. We bought a gym, a building. It was a fitness center, 8,000 square feet, 3 different rooms, like yoga room, fitness, kickboxing, and then like two mat space area on the front end with like a bag rack divider. But
Yeah.
I don't know if you've ever like, I did everything I've ever moved into, whether it was a gym or my house, like not apartments, but I renovated them. Like I did like a serious overhaul of the first location we bought, renovated everything over 3 months, moved in. We did everything though. We got everything done pretty much what we wanted. We made improvements after, but it's kind of like when I moved into my house and we ran into this at the new gym. When you work on it, you don't quite get done, but you move in, and then it's
Yeah.
like a snail crawl of a pace to finish your projects because you're just there.
Yeah.
And you don't, so it's just a longer thing. But like, so we were in 2 weeks and there's all these projects we wanted to do. And then we shut down for 6 and did every damn one of those projects.
Yeah. 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 That's what's nice about it is, I mean, there's still stuff I need to do. There's still stuff I want to do. I mean, I'm like looking around the place and there's just little things. Like there's just one spot in my office. Nobody sees it, unless they invade my office, which happens. But I have this one strip that I want to put in to cover up the wood wall where I built up. There was a window where my countertop is, and my countertop is inside my office. And so that way it kind of has dual purpose without losing space. But there's this little piece I want to put in. I just haven't done it. I have the piece. I just need to cut it and put it in, and I just haven't done it. I'm functional, and that's what's just I'm going.
Bro, I'm with you, man. I've been feeling that, and now like I'm in the midst of moving into my studio. We were gonna install the top. Like one of my guys from the gym's purple belt. He's chief of the campus police force, 20-year law enforcement. He's a 4th degree judo black belt. Nice. But he also is like a do-it-yourself guru. Like he was like, so we'll make this tabletop, and he sends me this video, and he's got a flamethrower, and he's like, and he's like burning wood with it. He's like, I think we should do this to the. But man, between him and like our graphic designer guy, who's the dude that does privates with me, we kind of trade out some stuff. It's like they got together and teamed up, got the logo on the tabletop, but Sunday we were going to do that install because the frame is in there and everything. But we had protest, man, and we had 2 factions other than the peaceful protesters show up. So and nothing turned violent. A 12-year-old boy threw a rock through a store window. That did happen. And then one supporter faction was like, shoot him on Facebook and stuff. It was wild. So we didn't do since that guy's law enforcement, we didn't get to do the tabletop install. So like I'm like half moved out of my at-home studio. Like it's but now I'm there on my podcast studio, which is at the new gym, but it's its own entrance and exit. It's its own building. We framed it in. So I'm pumped about it, man.
I think I've seen pictures of that table. That table looks huge.
It is. It's big, and it's custom. It's uniquely shaped. It's like a T, like on one end, but then like an L on the other end for like a sort of where I'm gonna put all my audio and production and one of the cameras.
Cool.
And yeah, I'm pumped about it, man. It's like really like outside of the stuff I have going in the gym, that's like a whole other creative dream and visualization I have going. It's like the same, man. It's the same as all your growth, but just in another, avenue.
Right.
With the podcast.
That's cool.
But man, so like you have really grown like the whole time I've known you. You mentioned teaching as a blue belt. I've seen you like up your game, move to bigger spots, have more students. Like, what has that process been like for you? Like, how many times have you moved now and stuff like that?
I don't know if I want Pete to realize how many times I've moved. My coach.
Bro, I've moved like 5 times. I've owned 2, at least 2, and then I split rent with the karate school.
Okay, so I had this old place on Main that got demoed for them revamping Main Street. We moved to the city up north. And then, okay, so when I moved into the gym, so technically this is my fourth location. Oh, sorry, fifth location. But when I was at the last location at the gym, when I was leasing inside the fitness center, I moved around that place one, two, three, four, literally 5 times into different places. The last time I moved, I actually was able to get a corner and actually frame it out for myself. So the last year, I was actually in a secured private. We had our own bathroom, we had a little kids area, I had a countertop, and we had our own little area for the last year. That right there was when I started noticing I was growing. Um, because it wasn't just mats that were rolled out inside of some giant room with people slamming weights all over the place. It was an
Yeah.
actual. We had our own entrance. It was our own thing, and I mean, my students were amazing. They took it and they owned it, and we weren't paying for a lot of advertisement. I wasn't like, my you know, papering Walmart parking lot with flyers or anything like that. It was just word of mouth and paying and being consistent. When we started, I didn't know what I was doing. Like, I
Shit,
love
me either, dude. I've
like,
learned so much, and
you know, I had,
I made a lot of mistakes too.
yeah, and there was people that I was afraid to let go of. There was situations that I handled probably wrong that I had to, all the stuff you don't know. A lot of people just don't know. I mean, I think even for the people that maybe are in business or some aspect of it, when you get into a very singular, very clicky, very cultured business like martial arts or jujitsu, you kind of just piece it together as you go. People told me, I mean, me and you had conversations about business, and it's people tell you things and you're like, no, I don't think that's going to happen, or you don't think it's going to, and it's just process elimination. What worked for me, what didn't work for me, and it just being consistent. I mean, we get told that from our own coaches, be consistent. You see your growth, you see your promotions and those things. But as an owner and as a coach, that's the big one. I mean, we have to be just that or more consistent than our students. And I think that's where I started noticing, hey, and I stopped competing. This is something that it's a little different for me than it is a lot of people, but I don't compete as much. I don't focus on my own growth. When I was competing and I was, hitting the pro circuit with like Fight to Win and stuff like that, or seeing you at tournaments all over, the area, it was 100%. It was like, all right, guys, this is what I'm working on right now. And you're wanting to grapple and home in those things for those fights. When I started changing to where now I write out a curriculum. This is what I'm doing for this week. I'm hitting these things. I'm hitting these additions. When I've changed that and started just pouring into my students and not being so worried about having to prove anything about who I am and what I can do, that was another one. That and the consistency of just throwing into my students. I'm here now because of it, I think.
Yeah.
So I mean, that's been the big thing for me is just every day I get up, every day I go in, every day I try, and tomorrow I fix what
Yeah.
I've messed up today.
Yeah. I saw there's a series of books I've been listening to, the Rich Dad Poor Dad books. I don't know if you've ever heard
Yeah.
of those, but I would at least recommend it for any business owner. The first one, and I'm on my third one in the series, but this guy is like basically like, hey, he's kind of harsh on education, but in ways that is merited. Like he really explains how they don't explain to you the basic principles of personal finance and the history of taxation and just some things like that. But he shared this thing today, the author, that was like basically like also one thing that school doesn't really prepare us for is like the concept that you're going to mess up, you're going to fail, and that there is a positive learning result from that. It's all like measurable outcomes. And dude, I'm in higher education, so it's like even I'm like, what is our learning outcome here, Mr. Wilson? And I'm like, stop calling me that. That's weird. And what is a learning outcome? I'm just the War 1812. I don't know. What are we talking about? But it's, but it's very, okay, you have to make this grade. You cannot make below this. And it's like, yeah, but where is the what you just talked about in public education of like, oh, you failed, and then you figured it out.
Yeah.
And now you're no longer failing in that area. And man, maybe that takes you longer than a grade,
Yeah. Yeah. Totally.
So, but it is, man, it's like a forging process. That is what I would say.
Yeah, I mean, I'm almost 40. I'm just a couple years from 40.
Yeah, dude, it blows my. You don't look that old, and you got a good hair. You got good hair going on. Okay, I've always liked it. Yeah. But you really, I think that I've said that before. You like told me like last time we talked that you were like, like 37 or something. I was like, what? No way.
Yeah.
But
it's weird because I didn't know what I wanted to do. Like, I thought about going to the military, and then it was like me and my wife just celebrated 14 years yesterday.
Congrats! Wow.
Thank you. And we have our 4 kids, and that was kind of the thing. The only thing I really knew was I wanted to be married and I wanted to have kids. That was, because you can't make money, that costs. So I played in everything. We had this one time, this radio station here in our area, they went through and they called a contest where they wanted you to name the jobs that you've had. And so I called in and I got this. So I start rattling off all these things I've done in my life. Like I've done pole lighting. I've done, vending machine stocking. I've done so many things in my life. I worked in a machine shop. I worked on an assembly line. I've done so many that now in the last 5 years, I found who I am. Have I done other things in 5 years? Yes. Have they worked out? No. Like I tried selling insurance. I worked as a manager of a gym. I've done different things, but I even did job placement where I'd find other people's jobs because I was so good at finding my own job. Might as well try that. And I think the thing that we get lost in, and I think it's in education, even for the people that don't go that route, they go more of the career professional or something like that. We try to find what pays the bill, but we never quite try to find what's going to fuel us to get up every day. And I think there's a loss in that. Is what I'm doing glorious? No, everybody thinks I have a lot of money. I don't. Like there's not a lot of money, and at least not right now. Maybe one day there'll be some flow, but this is a passion, and because of it's a passion, I'm gonna make it work. I'm gonna put those pieces together that it might not look. Today might not work. Tomorrow I'll pick up and do it again. But because it's my passion and it's something that I genuinely love doing, which it kind of plays into other things, but it's just teaching. I love to teach. I'm not a professional as much as what you would be, but like with my youth, I'm teaching them on the mat. I'm teaching people. I'm putting something of my life into these people. If it's the education of the art, or if it's real life stuff, whatever. But that's my passion, and because it's a passion, no matter how many times I fall, I'm going to get back up and try it again. And I think that's the thing that we've got to get. I hope my kids see that. I hope my kids remember all of this when they're older. I've got my oldest daughter's now helping me. She's an assistant coach, and it's one of my favorite things in the world to share the mats with them. But I hope they see that because this was a passion, I never gave up. And I think that's something we've got to get people to understand is if you want it, you can't give up. And
yeah,
who knows what'll happen,
No, that's a great point, man. I think that, at least for me, And what's fascinating to me, and I've been thinking about that, is like for some people this is not true, but for me, like a well-lived life is me getting to do things I'm passionate about. Like I would be so terribly unhappy if I was doing other things professionally. Like I'm literally, and I like to always tell people I do everything I want to do professionally. I got my master's in history, college history job. Like best case, like total win, everything I ever wanted, bam, and I don't even have my PhD yet, right?
Yeah.
So it's like win there, got the podcast going for the last couple of years, it's coming together more and more and more and growing like my business, got the business, still stresses me out, you know,
Right.
still causes me, there's days that I'm like, man, fuck this, you know, I'm like, ah, but everybody goes through that. But some people, they could mow the yard at the university and never go through these things that we're talking about
Right.
and receive and feel fulfillment. And
Right.
I've never been that way, but I am fascinated by that demographic. That it's like that's not not a part of their reality. And I think about alternate realities all the time, in which like, man, I could be doing these things, but I'm so glad I'm not. I try and always remind myself in stressful times, it's like, yeah, this is what we want. Yeah.
Yeah.
So,
You know, a buddy of mine, he worked with me when I was doing job placement. He was he was a safety manager for the place I worked for. He, we kind of kicked it pretty easy, got along really well, and we started DJing together. So we would go out and do weddings and events and stuff like that. And he hit me up this last summer, and he was just tired of it. He was tired of, you know, he was on salary, so it wasn't like he was punching a clock, but he was tired of that grind. He was tired of that same thing, not getting to see anything, any fulfillment or any growth. Like he just was collecting a check. And you know, there is a lot of people that are that way. I was raised with parents that way. My mom and my stepdad, that's what they did. They both worked two jobs. They collected check. That was it. That was my whole life. It was that. I mean, that's just what I knew. You worked hard. You got paid. You went home to your house. That was that. But for him, he had this turn. And you brought up the yard, so I thought of him. And he started a lawn cart company. And I'm not a yard guy. I just not a yard guy. Like there's this trail that my dogs have created around the perimeter of the fence, and I hate it, but I'm not going to do anything about it. Like, like I'm not a yard guy. And more power to those people that like to do that. Not that guy. This hair melts in the sun, so I'm not a yard guy. But he is, and he loves being on his mower, and he loves having his headphones on and just losing himself in whatever he's listening to. He loves that, and he's getting fulfillment from the ownership of it's now his business. He's making that money. Does he have our stresses? Yes. He has to produce. It's not the same as collecting a check. But some people, I don't honestly feel like, because I've got some family that are that way still, and it, you know, for whatever reason, that fulfillment comes from that check on Friday. You know, I put my time in on Friday. Here's my check. Now I can get to go to the weekend. I get another week of substance until that next check comes. And you know, it's we almost need people to want to be that way, because it kind of gets the world to stay going the same direction, you know. But man, I just wish more people would see, especially since what we just went through and we're still going through probably for the rest of this year. You know, I didn't have anything else to lean on. You know, I didn't get a stimulus check, or not a stimulus check, but a small business loan. I didn't do any of that stuff. You know, I didn't.
yeah.
You know, and a lot of us as small gym owners, we didn't get those anyways. Tons of people got turned down for that. But on the other side of it, now it's mine. I make my decisions. Can they come and tell us, hey, you're shut down for 6? Yes, we just found out that will happen. They will shut you down if they want to for an extended, you know, time. But it's still mine. You know, and I wish more people like my buddy would get to that point where it's all of a sudden they're happy with trying to create something and not be happy with just being in that rut. But
Yeah. Well, and a certain sect of people, I feel like are like they're just the type that like your buddy, like maybe he just never tapped into his entrepreneurial spirit until that moment, right? Like
right,
I was I don't even remember when, but sometime in junior high, they gave administered some sort of test to me, and that's what came back that I would like be an entrepreneurial type. And I was just like, and this is like eighth or ninth grade, and I didn't even start going to public school. I was homeschooled till eighth grade, so I can't remember if it's my first or second year. But like early on, I was like, I remember hearing that word and not being able to spell it. Still have trouble with it sometimes. But I'm like, what is an entrepreneur? Like,
yeah,
what? What is
yeah.
that? Like, and then I'm like, because even then I just like didn't really. But like looking back on it, I was like, well, I guess that damn test was right. Like,
I had, I was going through the state testing for my insurance license, and I went to this one interview. I'll never forget it. It was with a State Farm guy. We hit it off really well. I mean, the one thing through all, like, I sold vacuums door to door. Okay, I was one of those guys. Let me show you what this Kirby can do. Okay,
oh wow,
so we got like a minute. If you don't get kicked out of that house in a minute, you can sell that thing. So I was always taught at a really young age how to sell. So, in one of the things you do when you sell yourself. So, man, I sold myself. This guy was hooked. And he was like, let's get you in, man. But you need to talk to my wife. She's my business partner. She has an office. I have an office. And you'll probably be shared locations. So let's go talk to her. So we scheduled an appointment with her. This woman, I will never forget her. She ate me alive. She tore me down. I went home feeling so beat up. And we're in martial arts. I've never felt beat up like this. This is bad. I'm questioning everything. Like it was something. She gave me a test, and she looks at the answers of this test and she goes, "You're not fit for this." And I go, "No, I really think I am. I really want to do this. You know, I'm almost licensed. Going through all the thing." And she goes, "No." She goes, "Your test, what you scored, is telling me that you're gonna want to be an owner." She goes, "There's no room for that here." She goes, "I'm the owner. He's my partner. There's no room for another owner." She goes, "You'll do this for a couple of years and then you'll give up because you're not going to be able to take ownership." And I'm like, that's
that's
big.
interesting. Yeah, but do you think that was like hit the
It
nail on the
happened.
head in a way? Yeah.
Oh, yeah, because I ended up taking a job. I was working for an insurance guy here in my area. I loved it. It felt good. I was a professional, I was a professional salesman. And I'm here hooking up families and selling them insurance policies. And, I learned the ins and outs and I could talk the language. It was fun. And then all of a sudden one day it wasn't. And I'm sitting there and all of a sudden my quota gets tripled and all these things happen. And now the same work I'm doing, I'm making less money. And I'm like, I was done. And then, it hit me what she said and all of that. I mean, that's been 3 years ago. And here I am today. I own two businesses and who knows what happens going in the future, but it's mine. Like she was right. This lady was right. That stupid test was right.
Yeah, yeah. Well, man, too, like it is that is the cool part about all of the stuff that I've kind of done, even history, because like man, like, I'll have a professor tell me things and I'll take notes, but that's not like you go digging, you go read a book about any topic that they gave you like one page of notes on, and it's a whole book on it. So it's like everything, that process of learning like how to hook up all this audio and video equipment, or how to run a business. Like, man, that is something that just like those sorts of challenges, whether you call it building a brand, I don't know. But it's like I've always kind of been interested in that too, just like the process of the development of the idea,
Yeah.
you know?
Yeah. It's really something. And that's what kind of got me attracted to t-shirt stuff too, because someone gives you a list of things that they want to see on a t-shirt and you have to take that list and make it reality. You have to actually put it into, something that they can see and touch. And it started with an idea. Um, you know, it, it's kind of fulfilling. I compare it to like when my kids are playing with Legos and they bring me this blob of Legos and they're calling it a horse and it has like no legs and no head and they're like, look at my pony. And it's like, you know, oh, that's some
Some
cool stuff.
Harry Potter
There you go.
Legos down there,
Yeah, there you
bro.
go.
Okay,
There you go.
I got like every set. I even have the castle.
Well, see, I'm talking about the pile of mush that my kids make. In their minds, they created that, and they're proud of it. You know, and then that's why I like the T-shirt game. The labor people, first of all, people don't understand what goes into making a T-shirt. That stuff is insane. How much time goes into that, but actually getting to see that from start to finish, getting on the computer, starting with just, a couple lines being drawn and then building it into, an idea and a mock-up and sending it to them and then keeping your fingers crossed that you did right. And then making revisions and all that. It's I love that creative part and I love that challenge, but it's also goes right back into, I think that's what it takes to be an entrepreneur. You have to be willing to create. And but I've got buddies that are my age that are like so anti-kid. They won't create anything, not even a kid. And we're probably better for that, maybe. But they you got to want to create. And it's a scary thing to create. I think a lot
It is. It's vulnerable. You got to
Yeah.
put yourself out there, and a lot
Yeah.
of people are truly afraid of the comments section, or I don't know. I've thought a lot about it because I've had people that are super close to me in every facet deter me from putting myself out there. And it's like,
Yeah.
well, I see these other people are putting themselves out there. I want to create things. Like, why wouldn't you encourage me to do that?
Yeah.
But it's just like you got to do that. And then that the Lego metaphor is interesting because all my Lego sets I use the friendly instructional book and they look great. But man, there is no friendly instructional book like that for owning a martial arts school. I know because I have tried to buy that book over the years, dude. And I've been to trade shows and learned and imported and talked to countless school owners. And it's just like, it's almost like throwing something against the wall and just seeing what sticks and being like, all right, we're going to do these 3 things. We've
Right.
looked at 20 things. Like when I go to these trade shows, like if you've never been to the Martial Arts Super Show, they're not having it this year, but it's every year and it has been, and I hope that they continue to have it in Vegas. But it's just like it's for people who own academies, and there'll be tons of people there giving speech like, "Hey, here's how I do social media. It's like classes all day, and then like, I trained a Texan there one year.
We're the one who got promoted, right?
Yeah. So
That's awesome.
It's great, man. It's a lot of fun, but that's the closest thing to a martial arts school owners for dummies books that exists. It's
Right.
not a booklet that's just like, hey, here's how you run your martial arts business. It's a lot of just like, failing and figuring it out and talking to a ton of people and asking how they're doing it. And man, like panning through what people are telling you not to do, because sometimes people tell you not to do something, it might work for you.
No, totally.
So,
Yeah, totally. Because there was things. I have a great coach. There's things that he does that I can't do. We're different personalities. It's a different area. There's all those things that I've read a couple books and I borrowed a book from a guy and it was informative. It really was. The guy goes over like the first 3 chapters or so, or going over all his failures. It was I'm gonna butcher his last name, but it was small dojo big profit. Not doing a plug or anything, but
I'll look into that.
but it did have some good information in it. Did everything that he put in that book work for me? No, and not all of it did I follow perfectly either. But there was some points into it that I really liked. The problem with that was I took the instructions so literal that I never wanted to push the envelope. I stayed safe and I stayed small, and I wanted to maximize my profit in a smaller location. And I was really, when I was pushing everything in and I trying to stay nice and tight, I was actually choking myself. Is my whole mind visual for what I was going through the last few years. I was doing what I thought someone told me in a book to be right, but in the grand scheme of things, I haven't had walk-ins. Like, I haven't been in a location where people just walk in. And this place, I mean, I have walk-ins, and I don't
Oh,
have my
you're gonna
sign.
get
I
you're
don't have my
gonna get a
sign
lot
out
of
yet.
traffic.
So, that's what's so. It might work. It might not work. But an entrepreneur mind will work it this way. I'm pretty sure this is anybody that would call themselves an entrepreneur should, or at least they are doing it this way. They're trying. And if it doesn't work, they try something else. And they just keep bouncing off of that. And it's, you got to be willing to create, you got to be willing to try, and you got to be willing to fail and try something else. I have,
Yeah, getting emotional about your failures, man. Like that's something that I've gotten better at over the years. But man, that is something else. It's like, and I got that from a book. Like somebody was just highlighting the fact that, like, if you do investments, if you have a retirement, if you are owning property, like there's all of these things that are a long term game, are sort of out of your control. And if you get emotional about them in the short term, it can damage you.
yeah,
It'll damage your outlook, and that's been something I've had to try, and like just to like not get emotional when the failures come, and just be aware that is something that's common for most people, right? Just like, oh hey, you messed up, and it cost you some money, and you could have a lot of different mindsets about that. Oh, okay, I'll make it back, or okay, I'm an idiot. I cost my wife and I this money. Like, what was I thinking? I'm such an idiot. Like, there's just so many paths you can take on one little scenario, and it's just like big picture thinking. It's like, man, we're gonna make that back, whatever.
right. Well, there's even that, I think, for me, if you think about it, like as like a tournament or a fight or a pro match or just whatever, you have that moment to grieve for your loss. You have that moment to like self-reflect and be like, just you kind of break for a moment. But it's the dwelling on it that keeps you from trying again. It's that if my wife will give me an amen on that. I'm an emotional guy. I cry at movies. Like, my kids have made me soft. I'm not a hard street guy anymore. But getting off of that, you need that moment. You need to, for me, and because I'm emotional, I need that moment to release. I mean, that's what it is. It's a release, but it's not a dwelling where I'm stuck and I keep staying in that for so long that I can't get back up and try something else. Or, I think that's one of those people, they try, they have that moment of grieving, and that grieving time never ends. And I think that's a big struggle.
Yeah, that's one thing that I've kind of honed in on, is trying to like yeah, I got this from a book too, but just to be an active observer of your emotions. Kind of froze up a little bit. Can you see
Is that
me?
me?